I simply would like to welcome all of you. It's a pleasure to be with you today. So as I was just sharing, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And today is our first call together with this initiative that we have launched with Thomas almost 60 days ago. The Sustainable Procurement Pledge, and as I was sharing a bit earlier, thanks a lot to the 670 people who have joined on this ambassador network. That's wonderful, and with this we are able to go to introduce ourselves. So not impolitely, but I will start with myself. Time for Thomas to find a way to join us on the call. Myself, being since more than 30 years in business, and having a lot of experiences across the value chain in procurement, but also human resources and different transformation activities along the value chain, and recently also in supply chain. And then moving forward, I have been all these years, in particular, into the company Henkel. Thomas,
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. I have the feeling that you will join me on the spot.
Yeah, I'm keeping it just exciting to see whether I can make it work. I just had IT support today, so it shows that this is maybe not my strength. Anyway, we'll overcome.
So I do propose, my dear Thomas, that now you introduce yourself as I just made it.
Okay, excellent. So I don't know if any of you had the chance to see sort of the little ambassador update. If you have, of course, I'm repeating myself, but I'm from a little country, a little kingdom called Denmark. I have 28 years of commercial experience, and I have over the years had the pleasure of working both in Europe, in Africa, and Asia. And I'm so happy that also amongst our ambassadors, we have got a couple of Ghanaians who can speak Twi. And we also have some Indonesians with whom I can speak Bahasa, so I'm particularly looking forward to practice my old skills here. I've been 16 years with procurement. Before that I was a trader, so always commercial. And I've had the pleasure, I have to say, to have worked for three amazing companies, one being the East Asiatic, one being J&J, 10 years, and most recently the last 6 years plus with Bayer. So very happy that you are all here, and I'm super excited that we have so many ambassadors, but also that you're all joining here today.
So moving forward, Astrid, now we go into the core of our topic, and Thomas, all these initiatives are something that you want to share with us.
Yeah, I think one of the comments and one of the considerations we had when you look across the world map of different sustainability initiatives, there's of course so many, and I think here the sort of united aspect around all of them is that they all do have a great impact. And here we try to capture some of the ones. There are the national or the international, the more holistic objectives, whether it's the sustainability development goals or the global compact. But of course we see also on regional, whether it's the European Union or country level, there are many activities, and this is great, and we need more of that. We also see that there's an emergence of industry initiatives where companies are coming together saying, there's a great opportunity for us to unite our resources and work on the common objectives. One of those initiatives is Together for Sustainability, but we also have AIM Progress, PSCI for the pharmaceuticals, Rail Responsible, which is the railway industry, and Drive Sustainability, which is more on the automotive. And again, there are many more. But what is united here is that multiple companies come together in a compliant way and find ways that can leverage resources. And then we have all these activities looking at commodities that has also emerged in the last 10-15 years. One big one that I have at least been familiar with is the RSPO, so the palm oil. We have the sustainable soy, the FSC certification for paper, pulp, and for woodwork. And again, here there are many more. And companies are also standing out, making bold commitments. The Sustainable Living Plan for Unilever was, I think, one of the first sort of more comprehensive communications, but more recently the Science-Based Targets Initiative, which is WWF, UNGCP. We've got World Resource Institute and the Carbon Disclosure Project, which have now activated the science-based targets, where I think today there's 700 companies who have signed up. And then the business roundtables, again, lots of great stuff. CEOs are also committing on their company's behalf. And then we have the whole range of activities. This is way too short, I know, but we have here, whether it's the Fair Trade, Nico Rosen, or whether it's the Global March, Kailash, that is looking at eliminating child labor, or also what we have seen more recently, the Global Climate Strikes, which of course is very agnostic on industries, etc. And it's with that in mind that one may ask, okay, so what is then common, and why do we need the Sustainable Procurement Pledge? And I'll hand over to Bertrand to explain a little bit about that.
So all these initiatives are managed with one definitely a common point, which is the impact. So there are many activities managed by a lot of people engaging in order to really impact on sustainability agenda. So it's very there is a lot of leadership in it, a lot of commitment, a lot of funds and resources and organizations very focused, and also being also very well organized. And from that point of view, we were reflecting together with Thomas on what bonds, what is bonding, or beyond the purpose. And beyond the purpose, we were definitely looking at there are a lot of individuals, a lot of people, and we were looking at what are the opportunities we could have to even create even more impact. And creating even more impact is probably to find a way, or to find opportunities to empower even more the individuals. Individuals being allowing to operate not only top down, but to really empower and operate from a bottom up. And then we were also looking at, and why not also to enlarge the scope, to go beyond. In other words, complementing everything which is running by enlarging across industries, across companies, so very much along the scope, and enlarging also with different people being, for example, partner with academia, partners and engaged with students, engaged with professionals. So activating all procurement people, but all procurement people being directly in procurement as we are, but also all procurement people, which could become procurement people, being student example, also professors, and create with this a huge and more important, a large committed resources community, and with this creating not only a great impact, but a very great impact. So this is what we were reflecting with Thomas, and then we were looking at how to make it. And how to make it was a story we had 10 weeks ago together. And if we go to the next document, Thomas, you will probably now explain what has happened and where we are here today.
So again, we were talking on a Saturday morning between taking care of our kids and making sure we had all our parental duties all correctly executed. And what we thought, you probably remember, that was we thought there is actually a space and there is a solution, and the solution lies in the SPP. And what we didn't want to do here is come up with something completely separate. We wanted something that fitted into the larger United Nations framework. So it was very clear that whatever we were going to do had to strongly support the UN Global Compact principles, which are both looking at the planet and people. So it's environmental, but it's also responsible practices. And we wanted to make sure that everything we do and what we can have of impact supports the UN Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. That's where the world has to move towards, and many clever scientists have also been able to describe that is the objective of industry and the private sector. And then we wanted to make sure it felt very, very inclusive. So we also reached out to a lot of people. And as it says here, it was really created by many, but it's intended for all. So we reached out to academia. We got lots of great input. We reached out to procurement channels, whether it's the news, whether it's the companies that are also in the space of looking after performance of sustainability aspects. Many of people were also offering ideas. The group that we also work with in our day job in Together for Sustainability provided us a lot of input, and we tried, of course, to consolidate that. And that's what we did with the pledge, where we said, well, it has to center around these 5 principles. First of all, we need to stand up for people and the planet, and with that underpinned, that we will not close our eyes, and if we see something that's wrong, we will also address that. We also want to institute that idea that it's something we will be doing together. Together we will change the world. So it's not because in isolation or companies, we will unite behind this goal. But to do that and to have an impact, to start with ourselves, and we wanted it to also strongly recognize that each of us individually have that role to play, and whilst some people may have a bigger impact and have a larger scope, every little thing really counts, and that's starting with myself. And then it's about sharing knowledge and listening to others, as I think many of you will also confirm it. We don't necessarily live in an age where everybody's listening so well to each other. We, however, believe that it's through listening and learning, understanding, we find the smart solutions. And then it's leaving the right legacy for procurement. We are the guardians of responsible supply chains, and we have a role to play. So come 20, 30 years from now, when we look back, it's important that we can all say that we did our share, and we did certainly our best. And the last point here is that with all the top-down that you saw, we need to make sure we came up with complements those, that we are not in a competitive environment. It's absolutely making sure that the top-down initiatives are complemented with the bottom-up. And what you may have seen even on the logo is a bit the yin and the yang, which is the top-down and the bottom-up, that we believe should be coexisting, a couple of hands, which also symbolizes it's about partnership and doing things together. And the next slide is then what we came up with our purpose, and maybe just to read it out, because I think it's important that we all feel good about that, and we would like also your feedback later. But the purpose is really to ensure that procurement individuals across the world use their everyday decision power for good, and that through that we are ensuring that the UN Sustainable Development Goals will be met by 2030. That's what we are doing, and nothing else really. That the strategy of doing that is to engage a global network of ambassadors. So you and the 600 plus additional who is out there, who said this is something that resonates with us, and your role here is to act as role models and catalysts of this change within your networks. And maybe also important just to state that we are a non-profit bottom-up initiative that celebrates the individual impact, and with that also complements all the existing top-down sustainability initiatives. And we believe that impact starts with I, so that we have the biggest role to play here, and that's where we should start with ourselves. That's all. You are next.
Thank you very much, Thomas. So moving to the next slide, what we like is that to really leverage that impact starts with the I, and I through a global network of sustainable procurement pledge ambassadors, the SPP ambassadors, and being driven by an engagement and being driven by really putting into the center of everything that we do, impact. Procurement is impact, and procurement networks, procurement leaders, procurement managers have the power to move forward and driving these strategies through enlargement, engagement, and endorsement. And with this, we do simply propose moving to our next slide to go a little bit more into details into each of them and to get, of course, your feedback along what we have considered for SPP. So the engagement strategy number one is enlargement, and let's grow. Let's grow is not getting big. Let's grow is to get as bright as possible to activating ambassadors and becoming a network of ambassadors around all what brings us together, meaning procurement, independently to any industries and regions, being really a global network of ambassadors acting at a global level, but also regional level or local level. Activate academia, as we mentioned. We think that academias have a big role to play. A very big role to play, creating also the managers and the leaders of tomorrow and embedding sustainability in everything that we do, and activating procurement and also new challenges. So we brought here some new ideas, introducing eventually ambassador challenges, expand beyond LinkedIn, so different networks, translate also into more languages. So it is, how do we have the opportunity to become closer and to create communities of people engaging together? So first word here to keep in mind is enlarge, and with this creating more impact from all the eye that we can network.
Yeah, and then to build on that, so if we do get larger, you probably need to go back here. There. Okay. So one thing is growing as a community. The other is, making sure that we get stronger. And that is, of course, how do we interact with each other? How do we make sure that we share the knowledge, that we have great ideas in one part of our ambassador networks, and that is seamlessly move to the other one. So we've done a few things here, and it's really great to see that the activity, also people are posting super relevant activities, observations, trends that we are seeing, and that's exactly what we would like to do. You may also have seen that we also think that the strength of the community is also by knowing each other a little bit more. So we have launched the ambassador video stories, and here also I think 4 or 5 have already contributed a bit why is sustainability important for you, who are you, and what is it that you're hoping to see coming out of that. But that is just the beginning, because there are of course much more we can do, and one could be around topic discussions. For example, the companies who have signed up for science-based targets will now have to find out how do we really operationalize Scope 3, conflict minerals, commodities. There's so much more that we can do. So many ideas that we could also translate into reality as we get into the next year. Another one is, how do we help our community and the procurement professionals get the message out there? So can we partner with others to also have the message in their academies as we are moving on? And maybe we should create an internet page. So here there are different things that we can do. And the next sort of big topic is around endorsement. Also making sure that the world out there is seeing what we're doing and is recognizing the importance. And I may, if I click now, see that we have one such very important endorsement. This is from our friends in New York. This is the United Nations Global Compact, who has a message to each of you, and I would like that Marie-Lou speaks from her own mind. So I hope it will work, that you receive this.
Greetings from the United Nations Global Compact office in New York. I am Marie-Lou Dupont, Senior Manager for Decent Work and Social Sustainability at the UNGC. The UNGC is a call to business to align their strategies and operations with universal principles on human rights, labor, the environment, and anti-corruption, and to take actions to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. The role of the private sector is crucial to advance the SDGs, and for that, We need to transform business into principles-based and sustainable models. I am convinced that partnerships between all stakeholders will be crucial for getting us where we need by the year 2030. I welcome the Sustainable Procurement Pledge initiative, which recognizes the role all of us have in driving responsible procurement practices and shaping sustainable supply chains. Supply chains are one of the most important levers for business to create positive impact in the world, with an estimated 80% of global trade passing through supply chains annually. Overall, we have seen global supply chains have a positive impact. However, we also see that a governance gap has been created. The race to the bottom has led to increased inequality and increased environmental damage. The importance of procurement as a guardian of responsible supply chains should be underlined and recognized. The UNGC has created an action platform with member companies that build the case for improving decent work in global supply chains. As part of their participation in the platform, companies' chief procurement officers have signed 6 commitments to advance decent work in their supply chains. Our upcoming Decent Work Toolkit for Responsible Procurement, which will be available in February 2020, will also help procurement professionals integrate decent work and human rights in their sourcing practices. As we are approaching the decade of delivery on the SDGs, it is clear that the global community has become increasingly concerned about the lack of progress in fighting climate change, empowering women, reducing poverty, and building just societies. It is also clear that the challenges we face are too great for anyone to tackle alone. And we need ambassadors like you to engage others in building responsible businesses. I also call for the students and young professionals amongst you to be loud and clear on what you want the world of tomorrow to look like. Because to quote Greta Thunberg, the moment we decide to fulfill something, we can do anything. Dear current and future ambassadors of the Sustainable Procurement Pledge, thank you for your commitment to help us achieve the global goals.
We have been in contact with UN Global Compact, and they are very excited that we have reached this level of membership and participation, and they are very keen to also partner with the different strains of activities that they have. But that's just one endorsement, one avenue that we can partner. There are other sustainability leaders that we should be reaching out to. There are industry initiatives that we can also complement. We know that there's the NGOs, the CSOs, many of them who also have great projects that we could support and enable. There are some famous people, we think about musicians, and there are many people who have a voice in driving a sustainable agenda. We should reach out to those and also see them if we can hear from them. Government, opinion leaders, etc. And Bertrand was talking about the social media reach. We have now clearly seen that with LinkedIn, we have a reach. It's predominantly Western, admittedly. So, as and when we want to be more integrated with Asia, we probably need to also explore different things, whether it's Twitter, WeChat, Instagram, whatever. And then, of course, the press relations. There are messages which we could put out there, and that needs to be done in a professional way. So that's linked to the topic of endorsement. But as Bertrand was saying, what really matters is what is in the middle, and that's the impact. So, Bertrand?
When we talk about impact, we like to shape together. Shaping together is a wonderful community that we have, 671 since 2 minutes. We started at 665 and now we're 671. So it's a super community of people impacting, and people with, imagine that we all would be able to post an experience, a procurement experience, a sustainability procurement experience, and to share it. And step by step creating impact through these experiences and these stories. Being extremely pragmatic because it focuses on actions. It focuses on outcome. It focuses on activities from the internal, but also from the supply basis. All of that managed, of course, we know we are all professionals, all antitrust elements, but the content, the purpose, the essence must go across sustainability, and this is what links all of us. And we may have the opportunity with this to link and to create new procurement practices. And then from there, leveraging it and getting traction and speed. And now I am back to the academia saying, where are the cases? The cases that you could also be inspired to develop and to share with your students, but also not only with your students, also with us. And with this also creating that environment, which I think would be a source of inspiration, but even more important after that, a source of impacting and results along the supply base and along our supply chains, and definitely along everything that we are doing with our respective customers and consumers. With this, we also were reflecting with Thomas on how to activate it. And here it's a reflection along enlargement, engagement, endorsement, and impact, and considering the opportunity to set up different regions or different countries, mobilizing teams together, not exclusively, but having the opportunity to engage with close to me in my region or into my organization, into my space, and along all of this, and creating with that even more stories impacting the day-to-day business to operationalize it through these individuals and the different also stakeholder groups that we can create.
Excellent. 2020 is also in the world of UN Global Compact tagged as the year of impact. This is where all these nice concepts have to hit the ground, and we need to drive tangible results. I think what you also raise examples. That's really the spirit. I would recommend that many of us have probably had a super busy year. So let's enjoy the holidays that are coming up, and then get ready and make sure that 2020 really will have a big impact, and that we can then make sure this comes to life. So also my big thank you to all of you, and I wish you happy holidays and a good rest.
Very happy holiday to all of you, and if in between any inspiration comes, don't hesitate to post it on the platform. It would be great, because then we can continue to have that inspiration. Thanks a lot to all of you.
Thanks.